Can what we eat help protect our brains? Well, our next guest says absolutely. Aileen Burford-Mason is the author of The Healthy Brain, a book trying to help readers optimize brain power at any age. Aileen Burford-Mason is here this morning to tell us just how to do that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Okay, you've called the brain the most metabolically active organ in our body. What do you mean by that?
It means it's using up energy, oxygen, glucose, and the vitamins and minerals and other essential nutrients faster, weight per weight, than any other organ in the body. It never sleeps. It's constantly working for us.
And so we have to be feeding it with the right sorts of things.
It can't work without food.
All right, so let's talk. In Canada, we talk, and on this show, we talk a lot about Alzheimer's, about dementia, and it's a reality for so many, far too many Canadians. No medical fix yet. So what role do you say the proper food and diet and lifestyle, what role does that have in stemming that tide?
All of the organs of the body, but the brain in particular, are constantly using up nutrients. They need to work. So if you're not supplying those, of course, the brain's going to deteriorate. We call diseases like Alzheimer's degenerative diseases. So that implies a failure to regenerate. We used to think the brain, brain cells never replace themselves. You were taught, you were at university, if you had too much to drink, you killed neurons, you never replace them. And we know that's not the case now. There are cells constantly being renewed. Those cells are made out of something. We have to make them, we don't make them out of thin air. We make them out of components in our food. So what we eat is fundamentally important to how our brain develops, really from the time we're in utero to how we protect it, maybe through injuries as we age, maybe protecting it from stress. How we sleep is very important if we want to keep a really healthy brain as we age.
All right, let's talk about the food that we eat, because the food we eat is the food that we shop for. So if I go to the grocery store today, what are the things that I have to have in my cart in order to start that proper path?
Lots of vegetables, particularly leafy greens. Berries are turning out to have powerful brain protective effects. So you put the blueberries in there, you put the spinach and the kale, and then important foods that we've actually neglected or even been advised to neglect, like eggs. Really important to eat eggs, and not just egg whites. It's the egg yolks.
The whole egg.
The whole yolk.
That's what I like. All right, I like that little yellow part. Okay, let's talk about something that really, I think a lot of people are going to see this in the book and have the follow-up question. Really? Because you advocate for 10 servings of fruit and vegetables. And people say, really, do we need to have 10 servings a day?
I know. It sounds daunting, doesn't it?
It does.
But in fact, if you just look at what a serving size is, it's not that difficult to get. You're talking about a baseball size of fruit or a vegetable. You're talking about half a cup of cooked vegetables. And you have to start early in the day. You'll never play catch up at dinner time. Right. But really and truly, once you start, but I think every meal needs to be built around sources of fruits and vegetables. I know it sounds daunting, but it can be done.
And once you get into the habit, I've noticed that any good habit just takes a little bit of time.
Exactly,
Where do you fall on the debate about multivitamins?
Well, all of the nutrients we're finding, if we look at the research, are being undersupplied. The micronutrients, the vitamins and the minerals, and the essential fats like the fat from fatty fish. So a multivitamin is a little bit of everything, because what we forget is all of the nutrients work together. They don't work singly, so there are no magic bullets here. So that's one of the things a multivitamin is. But there are lots of different types of multivitamins, and some of them really, you want a reasonably potent multivitamin, not something that's just exactly the recommended daily intake.
And lastly, I've got to ask about the one thing that I know I need more of that I'm not getting enough of is sleep. Where does that fit into this equation?
Well, it's really critical, because what we know is, and it's fairly new work, that all of those plaques and tangles that we're concerned about building up in the brain to create the disease we call Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia are cleansed from our brain. They're a natural byproduct of working our brain hard during the day. They're cleansed only when we sleep. So if we don't sleep, they can build up in the brain. So sleep is critical.
I'm going to go take a nap after the show. But Aileen, thank you so much. Never before has there been more conversation about brain health, and I think you're adding to that conversation with this book. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.